Welcome back to TV Toastmasters. I'm Beth Genley, your host for this segment, and I'm also this year president of Toastmasters for Speaking Professionals. I'm really pleased to welcome Adam Copeland to this interview. Adam is a member of Leaders Edge Toastmasters. His hobby is photography, which we'll talk about a little bit, and his passion is writing historical fiction, which is going to be really fascinating. Also, his life story includes an inspiring twist for you aspiring writers and creatives out there. So, welcome to TV Toastmasters, Adam. We're really glad you're here.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
A pleasure. So, Adam, what is historical fiction?
Well, historical fiction is novels that take place in actual history, but the situations, the characters are all fictional. They're not real people, that is. Or they're real people, or you're fictionalizing what they said, when they said it, and what they did. And my particular genre is historical fantasy. So it's like King Arthur or Robin Hood type stories.
Oh, how very fun. So are there any reader favorites? You've published some of these, right?
Yes, I have.
Cool. And what are the reader favorites so far?
My first one is Echoes of Avalon, which takes place around 1100 AD, so it's got knights in shining armor, an Irish knight who was on crusade, lost his faith in everybody and everything, and finds himself on the island of Avalon, where he slowly learns to regain his faith in these things. And
I associate Avalon with King Arthur and Merlin and that group, right?
That all those stories, the legends and the history figures into the story, and there they are. And my story takes place later than King Arthur, but there's a legacy of what's left behind on the island of Avalon that figures prominently in the story.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun. How wonderful. And what else? Tell us about another book you've written.
The sequel to that is Ripples in the Chalice, that picks up where the story ends of the first one. And the first one ends with a character making a big, important choice that maybe he shouldn't have, but he did for the best of reasons, but there are consequences for it. And the second book is the fallout, the consequences of those choices and how they end.
How they end. All right, cool. So I understand that there was a big change in your life, a choice point that led you into writing. Tell us about that.
Well, I've always been a writer, loved writing, but when high school and college come along, I really didn't have time for it. But I had all these stories building up inside my head like a pressure cooker. And I went on to, after college, to have a career as a chemical sales rep. And I made quite a bit of money doing that, but I really, really did not enjoy it at all. And I was not a star performer, wasn't doing a great job, even though I was doing it for a decade. It just got to the point that I wasn't ever going to be hugely successful at it. And at a point, my employers made a choice for me I wasn't really willing to make for myself, and that is they let me go. And
ouch.
At first it was ouch, but it was a blessing, and I thank them very much for it to this day. And I knew I was going to have to get another job soon, but I was well off enough that I could take a year off. And I did just that. I traveled, saw friends I hadn't seen in forever, family I haven't seen in a long time. But more importantly, the things that I love to do, I want to do, finally had an opportunity to come out. And I let them come out, and I pursued them. And I didn't stress over finding a job. I made a conscious choice to do what I liked, what I wanted, what I enjoyed. And that was, I got into photography more, and the books that were beating me up from the inside out, I finally let out onto paper, and they're out there in the world now, available for people to buy and read and enjoy.
How wonderful. It sounds like you shifted from kind of a set of conventional values that didn't really suit you to your own values. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's our culture, our society is built around you must do this thing, this, and that to be considered successful. And if you don't do those things, you're, bad person or you're doing the wrong thing, you're wasting your time. It's so difficult to recognize what you love and pursue that, go do it, enjoy it. And even if you're not successful at first, if you love it, what's the worst thing going to happen? Is you're going to stop loving it? No, probably not. If it's a passion, and go after it. That's all I got to say.
So it worked out for you. You've been a member of Toastmasters for a while. I understand it helped your old job. So tell us a little bit about how it helped you as a chemical salesman and how it's helping you now as a writer.
Well, I've always been just painfully shy all my life, not very assertive, not very loud. And in my job as a sales rep, that was a big detriment in that you had to, make eye contact, you got to be assertive, you have to make your point clearly, concisely. And these are all the things that Toastmasters helps you with. And I got to the point, I remember distinctly one day that I was meeting new customers, had to stand at this conference table, and all I had to do was introduce myself, say, this is my name, this is what I do. And I just fumbled through it so badly. And I really, really didn't like that. It had control of me. I don't like something having control of me. So I Googled stage fright, found Toastmasters, and it helped make me a better person, not just a better sales rep, but a better person. And when it comes to selling books, completely different kind of sales what I was doing, but it's still essentially sales. People ask, oh, what's your book about? And that's standing at the conference table moment. Even though it's your book and you intimately know it, you can flub it so easily because you're shy, anxious, and I really didn't want that happening. So that's why I stick with Toastmasters, is I want to stay sharp.
That sounds amazing. That's a really wonderful story for creatives of all stripes, I would say, because that can often be the challenge for creatives, is the sales part, getting people to buy their work, or for them to be able to speak about it.
It is. I know so many artists, not just writers, but craftsmen, sculptors, musicians. You'd be surprised how many musicians struggle with presenting their work. They love the music, but getting on stage in front of a crowd is so difficult for them. So if you're a musician and you want to be on the stage better, Toastmasters could do worse than Toastmasters, I guess.
Excellent. Well, we have a few more minutes left. I'd love to hear a little bit about your photography as well.
Well, when I lost my job, I had to make some choices, and I started pursuing the things I loved. And one of them was photography, and I got to the point where I recognized that I was taking great pictures, but if I want to take great pictures and make a living at it, I essentially would have to go back to school and learn some things. And as much as I liked it, I didn't want to do that. So I stuck with the kind of pictures that I enjoyed, and that's not taking pictures of people. Like sunsets, flowers, the oddities that look fantastic on film. I started doing those, and just recently I found a website where I can upload them to and have them on market, that Getty Images will accept them as in their portfolio of things that customers can come look at and buy. And I was surprised of how many got accepted, and that I haven't sold any yet, but they've been accepted into what's called their premium catalog. That means that they're good candidates for being marketable. And that's on a website called IM, that's I like eyeball, em.com. And you can find my work there, and I'm rather proud of it.
Yeah, I bet you are. That sounds like an amazing upgrade from a hobby to something that you got out in the world also.
Yeah, that's half the battle, is once you recognize in yourself what you love and you do it, craft it, and then you present it and share it with the world. And even if people don't really give you accolades and praise for it, the fact that it's there for presentation, for show, and people can enjoy it, that's just a great feeling.
I bet it is. Tell us about your next book. What are you working on?
My next book is going to be something very literary. It's not going to be historical fantasy or even fiction. Well, it's fiction in that it's going to be poetic rambling, and It's, if you ever heard of the book called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which is about an author who takes a sabbatical and he goes to Savannah, Georgia, and meets all these crazy characters and crazy situations, and he basically just muses about it. And that's kind of what I'm going to do. That's my next project. And that's something I'm going to do for NaNoWriMo, which is National Writing Month of November. People, writers, they try to write 50,000 words in the month of November, a 100-page book, and that's going to be my project this year.
NaNoWriMo. So where can more information be found about NaNoWriMo, and also where can more information be found about your books?
NaNoWriMo is just how you spell it, WRIMO.com, and that can explain itself pretty succinctly when you look at the web page. I myself can be found on Amazon, my books, Echoes of Avalon and Ripples in the Chalice. If you look for those books, or Adam Copeland, you'll see that I have an author profile there. Same as on Goodreads.com. BarnesandNoble.com has my books, Powell's.com, and pretty much right now that's where I can be found.
Way cool. Thank you so much, Adam Copeland, for joining us today. I'm Beth Genley for TV Toastmasters, thanking you for joining us and hoping you'll stay with us for more fascinating interviews.
Hello, I'm Lisa Steindorf, and I'd like to invite you to attend my session, 3 Keys to Better Results, The Art of Direct Communication. When you attend this workshop, you will learn the real secret to how communication works. You'll learn easy tools to make it work best in any situation, and also you'll learn how to avoid and deal with conflict if it does arise. So you'll find ways to hear better, to be heard better, and generally to feel better when communicating with others. So please do join me at Unleashed Potential, the District 7 Spring Conference on April 27th at Camp Withycombe, Clackamas. For more information about the conference, go to d7toastmasters.org.
Hello, and welcome back to TV Toastmasters. I'm your host of this segment, Eric Bergman, and I'm a member of We Toasted Toastmasters in Lake Oswego, as well as a member of TV Toastmasters. And one of the reasons I love being a Toastmaster is I get to hear the remarkable stories of people in our community who have done wonderful things and experienced really astonishing things. And my guest tonight fits the astonishing category. By all rights, she should have died some years ago, and yet here she is. She is a member of Storymasters Toastmasters and is going to tell us about her medical emergencies that she survived and the discipline and the healthy approaches that she takes to living a life. So please welcome with me Diana Fisher. Diana, welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
It's great to have you here, and statistically, we probably should not have expected to see you here tonight due to the medical emergencies that you've been through in your life so far. And you say that you've lived a life of multiple miracles. Can you tell us what you mean by that, and what are some of the miracles that you've experienced?
When I was 19 and I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, I had my first 2 brain surgeries within a 28-month period. And when my seizures continued, I knew what was going on and went back to my neurologist, had another MRI, and found out I needed another brain surgery. But the 3rd brain surgery was unlike the previous 2 in that I contracted bacterial meningitis. And when I got bacterial meningitis, I had no idea what was in store, in that I was sent home from the hospital with IV antibiotics, and less than 24 hours later, I had severe intracranial swelling so bad that I could see my right temple out of the corner of my eye.
So your head was literally swelling
Yes.
because of that infection following the surgery?
Yes. And one by one, I had 48 staples pop out of my head, and my scars split.
Oh my goodness.
It was frightening. And of course, at that moment, we knew that it was time to return to the hospital. And I can tell you that after all of the hospitalizations I've had, I've never seen staff in a hospital spring to their feet so quick as I did that day. As I staggered through the emergency room doors and had some of the staples that had popped out on the shoulder of my coat, and the emergency room nurses came dashing over with their wheelchair, immediately wheeled me back into the casting room, which at the time my family thought was a little odd. But we now realize that they put us in there for privacy amidst such a dire situation, because at that time, I didn't know if I was going to even survive the surgery to remove my infected bone plate that had become infected with bacterial meningitis as well. And at that time, my condition just rapidly deteriorated. You could see it by the hour going down. And I knew at that moment that I may never see another day.
So it's made you feel that every day is precious and there's a lot to live for every day.
Yes.
But from that emergency room setting, you would still have multiple brain surgeries ahead of you.
Correct. So that was my third, and I went on to have a total of 6 brain surgeries in 2.5 years. And I had to have a section of my skull removed that's about the size of an adult's hand, as that was infected. And I went without a portion of my skull for several months. And I just can't even believe that I was so fortunate that the IV antibiotics cured my meningitis. Lucky for me, and I'm not only lucky to have survived, but the fact that I'm not disabled. I'm so blessed and so fortunate. And I honestly didn't know at that time. I really saw my mortality in front of my eyes, but yet it also taught me, after having 6 brain surgeries and bacterial meningitis, and my IV antibiotics caused gallstones, and I had to have my gallbladder taken out as an emergency surgery as well during that time frame. And it just really taught me how precious every day really is.
You have a wonderful approach to the philosophical question, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? What's your approach to that question?
Rather than seeing my cup as half empty or half full, I really feel blessed to simply have a cup.
Just to even have a cup.
To have a cup. And for me, that is the greatest blessing of it all. But I really do. And in that cup, I see it as not only half full, but I really see that it's overflowing with gratitude and with such wonderful feelings about just being simply alive to have another day, for appreciating all the little things in life that make living so grand. And I'm very fortunate in that way, because those perspectives have really taught me just how special every moment really is, and have also taught me how much I'm in control of my own destiny.
Do you think people let destiny control them too much in some cases? Are they just waiting for things to happen?
Yes, I think that happens a lot. And I think more and more with the negativity that is in our society that gets spread through social media and all kinds of other outlets, that I've really come to see that people more and more feel that they're a victim of circumstance. And while it's certainly possible that they're a victim of circumstance, what's really important is that 90% of life is how we react to the 10% of things that happen because that's really truly what life is about, is how do we react to what happens in our life? How do we choose to see it? And that's how I see it, is that it is truly a choice that we make. And that's what a lot of people don't stop and realize, is that it's a choice that we make.
So you have chosen to respond to these medical disasters, near-death experiences, with a very disciplined approach, a very healthful approach, and a very approach very filled with gratitude. What goes about in your mind and in your practices? How do you put together a practice to stay healthy despite the obstacles that you face?
To take care of myself every day, and to take care of my state of mind by doing simple things like meditating on the train on the way into work and on the way home. And really, truly, when I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it a great day. And even if things don't go as planned, there will be wonderful things that come out of it. And so I really make sure, too, that I eat well and I exercise. I take care of myself because I know how important it is, especially for my health. But it's really that state of mind that dictates how the whole entire day plays out and how I take care of myself.
And in fact, you've managed to build your health up to such a level that you have climbed a mountain in Africa. Tell us about that.
So in 2013, I was scheduled to climb Mount Kilimanjaro when I had a seizure and grabbed a hold of a radiator heater and got third-degree burns in my hand and was unable to go because I was in the critical care unit for a week. But I then, 3 years later, was able to work my way back to health, and I worked out, and I had a really strict program that I stuck to, and I made sure that I got in shape to be able to, over a 6-month time span in particular, really solid training to be able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro through that discipline of working out and hiking and doing everything I could to get as strong as possible.
And that mountain is about 20,000 feet tall, correct?
Yes, 19,341 feet.
The highest in Africa, so that's no small feat to get up there.
Right.
I love your approach to health and wholesomeness and your approach to life. And one element of your life that we should talk about is your role in Toastmasters. You're a member of Storymasters. Can you tell us when that club meets and where it meets? Meets
every Thursday, and it meets at the Providence Hospital right off of Barnes Road from 6:30 to 8. It's a wonderful club, and it's a club that it just is a fabulous environment. It is so rich and rewarding, and I feel like it's such a great environment for people to be able to grow. And so that's something that I really look forward to greatly. It's a favorite part of my week.
Great. So that's a Thursday evening class at Providence St. Vincent in Portland. And is there something about your story that you've thought about more, having been in a Toastmasters club that emphasizes storytelling? What's the message or what's the plot line of your story so far that you could share with us?
I think what I've really come to see is how much we are in control of our own destiny, and that in our story, to really see where does that story begin and how does it build, and then where does that lead us. And through Storymasters and really looking at the story arc, it really helps me see my own life in terms of a life of miracles through this story arc. And to really see these various points along the way that build up to, in a lot of ways, I feel like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro was right at that peak of really being able to experience the true breadth of life in so many ways. So Storymasters just is completely incorporated so many ways into how I live my life and enjoy every day. Well,
I hope you have many more stories and many more years to come. And I'm Eric Bergman. Thank you for watching our episode tonight. And please, we welcome you back to see another episode in the future.